Halstead Telephone Company and R&J Broadcasting Incorporated is proud to present to you this broadcast on yourliveevent.com.
Hello, welcome back to the Your Live Event Robotics Show powered by Enbridge. I am Jack. I'm going to be hosting the show. Today, we have a great show lined up for you. We were able to talk with the team of ArrowBots, the team of RoboJacks, but we're going to start off here with Rangers Robotics. Welcome back to the Your Live Event Robotics Show. I am Jack. I'm here with Ranger Robotics. That is Team 6132. I have Taylor, Candace, and Spencer, and of course, the mentor, Mike. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing well.
Yeah.
All right. Did I not butcher anybody's name? I'm notorious for butchering names.
No, you're good.
All right. There we go. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, before we get into the nuts and bolts of everything, I always love asking this question first, but what got you guys into robotics? How'd you guys hear about this?
I heard about it from Taylor. He got me into it.
Okay. All right. Taylor, how did you hear about it?
Well, okay, so I've been in multiple different sports, different activities, and I never stuck with anything. And then in 8th grade, I was doing something after school, and then I didn't have anything to do. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to my friends are all at this thing called robotics. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go there, hang out with them. And then they put me to work, and I was like, I really enjoy this, and I've stuck with it ever since.
That is awesome. And Spencer, how'd you hear about it?
Well, most of my friends were in robotics and got to stay with the group.
All right, so it seems like just an entire team of friends here, which is
Yeah, basically.
that's perfect. Hey, nothing like hanging out and building robots. Now, Mike, actually, before we get into that, do you prefer coach or do you prefer mentor?
It doesn't matter. I do both. I coach athletics and this and knowledge bowl, so kind of do a little bit of everything.
All righty. So, but how did you get into robotics?
In 2015, our superintendent said we should start a robotics team and talk to the guy that was in charge of our school's technology stuff. And he went to him and he came to me and said, I don't know anything about coaching kids, or I don't know a lot. Will you come and help me? And I didn't know anything about robots, but said, yeah, I can coach kids. So that's how I got involved. And then about 2 years later, he went to another school district and kind of left me here. Then I recruited one of the other guys in the school, and we've been together ever since.
Okay, perfect. Now, with what it's been like a little bit, like a month and a half, 2 months of I'm going to call it prep time, but building the robot, designing the robot. How's everything been going thus far?
I would say it's been going pretty well. I feel like we've really come along this year since last year, because last year we kind of had a completely new team, but now we've kind of figured it out a little bit. So I think we're doing pretty well, and everybody's kind of getting to know their part in everything and getting to do their own thing, and we're all coming together to build one thing.
Okay, cool. Taylor, Spencer, anything to add? Or
Well, within the last 2 years, I think we've all figured out our roles a bit better. We all just figured out what we're good at and what we're bad at and what we need to work with.
Yeah. We all kind of have our different little groups in robotics. We have our coders and all of that.
Now, Taylor, with that being said, like, what do you do? What is your part in the robotics?
I kind of like just help build the robot, more like building like the frames and the frame and like putting the wheels together and all of that.
All right, cool, cool. Candace?
I this year and last year I was kind of put in charge of the bumpers. I'm actually really excited about this year because we have kind of a new design that it's reversible bumpers. So it works where you can flip it up easy up and down, and we don't have to take anything off or put anything on, and it'll make changing the color of the bumpers definitely a lot easier this season.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the reversible. So so you're just gonna be able to like turn the thing inside out and
Yeah, kind of like a flap, one flap, and it flips over and it's red on one side, and then you flip it up and it's blue. I think it's pretty cool, and we have Velcro to like kind of keep it together while we're on the field.
That's I'm a movie buff, so the instant you started like kind of explaining it to me, there was an old James Bond movie where like the license plate would change all the time. That's
Oh yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay, that's
we got numbers on there, so.
yeah. And Spencer, what's your part in the robotics?
Well, this year, a little bit different from last year. Last year, I kind of just helped around with whatever needed help. But this year, I was working on the merchandise, like designing the T-shirts, the flags, the pins, a little bit of all. It's all getting made right now, which is pretty good. It all turned out pretty well, which is nice.
The accounting, do all the accounting for
Oh
it.
yeah, this year it's different than last year. I'm doing the accounting, keeping track of what we're spending our money on.
Okay, so this is like one of my favorite parts about like learning about everything else, because again, very much this is me getting introduced to a lot of this. So hearing like, hey, there is like the business side, there's the nuts and bolts mechanical side, there's the physical drive team, there's things like that. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I was your age, I would have been nowhere near like managing money, anything like that. So like, how is it difficult, like the business side of it, or are you like, yeah, no, it's actually pretty easy once you kind of get into it?
It's not too bad. I mean, right now in actual school, I'm taking economics to learn more about that. So it's kind of helpful.
Perfect. Now, Mike, just kind of hearing like you got a little bit of everything here with when it comes to the build, the business side, and some of the design, and then everything like that. Now, coming from other places and coaching other places, how difficult was it to kind of come in and be like, oh wow, okay, there's a lot of stuff I gotta like get these kids or students to kind of get into?
Yeah, when I started in 2015-16, we didn't know enough to ask a question hardly. And, since then we've progressed. Now we've done a much better job of, getting our sponsors and, taking care of the financial aspects that are required to have a good robotics program. Our school remodeled their CTE wing a couple of years ago, so we have our own space now. Before, we were just kind of in a hall closet and got to use part of a classroom and some different parts of the industrial areas of the school. Now we have our own space. We have a robotics class. We have a coding class, and these guys are modest. They're doing a great job with everything that they're doing. We have a lot of kids, like I said, down there that take care of the coding. There's kids that are really good with their hands, can weld, can build. We have one kid that has really taken off, or a couple kids that have really taken off in CAD. Are able to CAD up and look for problems ahead of time before we build it and see that it's not going to work. It's just been a steady growth is the way I would describe how our robotics program is going.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Now, you guys are going to be part of week 0, which is tomorrow, correct? Okay. Awesome. Now,
any for each of you, what are we trying to learn? What are we trying to figure out at week 0? Is it just, hey, let's just make sure everything's functioning, or is there something else that we're trying to understand about the robot?
I would say, going back to my job with the bumpers, I'm definitely going to be watching on how easy those work out, because sometimes it is kind of a little bit harder to flip those down. So I'm just hoping that they work out, or that the staples don't come undone, or that the wood doesn't break, kind of those things that keep our robot protected on the field outside of the mechanical issues.
Okay, perfect. Taylor, what do you?
We kind of like this year we built like a whole new robot. Like we started like fresh this year, so I'm kind of interested in to see how that's gonna work. Like we're working with swivel wheels this year. I don't think we did swivel wheels last year, so I'm kind of interested to see how that works and the arm mechanism that we built.
Okay, so actually, 2 questions. For the folks who don't know what a swivel wheel is, could you explain what a swivel wheel is?
You want me to explain? Yeah. So we use what's called a swerve drive. So you have 2 motors driving 1 wheel, so it can turn and move forward at the same time. So the wheels are 4 independent wheels, and you can go diagonal, forward, backward, left, right, just by toggling the joystick. Much faster than any robot we've ever had. Like we've traditionally used either mechanism wheels or a tank drive, which is, they're sturdy, they're solid, they're durable, but they're not super fast. And the robots that win this competition are super fast. And so we opted, we're going to take a swing for the fence here. We put on the fastest drive we can build and lightened up our frame considerably. And we've taken a lot of the other stuff off that we've done in the past in terms of weight and things like that.
Okay. So
did a really good job.
So it really does sound like you guys are trying to just build one of the fastest machines out there.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. Now, you talked about a joystick and kind of the driver. I've noticed there's a lot of different types of controllers. Some are straight up video game controllers. Do you guys already have a control system already mapped out and planned for?
Yeah. We have like this whole we have our control board with our computer and our joystick. Last year, I think we used an Xbox controller.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we have our whole board with all of our stuff on it, and we have a Joy-Con this year. It's pretty cool.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Spencer, what are you looking to? What are you thinking about week 0? What's your?
For week 0, I'm hoping to look for any mistakes or faults we have in our robot, so we can fix that before the real scoring starts to happen. Anything loose or fragile.
Now, Mike, same question. Anything as a coach or mentor that you're kind of looking through a different lens to see what's going on in week 0?
No, Spencer kind of hit it on the head, just making sure that our robot holds together. We work on, we're actually progressed far enough now where we start to work on the gamesmanship a little bit, talk about how you scout other teams, who can do the things we can't, who can we help out if we're chosen to do something later in a competition, stuff like that. Because you're in a 3-team alliance. You get a lot of good design ideas by looking at other robots too, how do they mount their electronics? How do they do their pneumatics? How do they, what kind of mechanical systems do they have? How do they lift, drive? What do their drive stations look like? It's all those kind of coaching things that for, maybe in a couple of weeks in our regional competition we can use, but also down the road, hey, that's something we should think about doing.
So has there ever been a time where you come into week 0 with robot A, and then the instant you come out, you're all right, we got to change everything? Or is it always little micro adjustments that you're making?
Over the years, I would say we've had a few robots. Some part of it has to do with how you score in the game. Like sometimes when you're looking at the rules and the videos that they send out, you look around and you see, how you thought the game would score and where you could score more points. And then you find out that the game's a little bit different than that. It depends on, your accuracy in shooting a ball or, what are you able to get through in terms of obstacles and things like that. Sometimes you just have to pick one of them and be really good at it. It's sometimes very difficult to make a robot that can do everything. So sometimes specializing is the way to go. And you really don't know that until you start competing and see, how your robot fits in with the other teams. We've had some good, really strong, durable robots that were really good at certain tasks, but they weren't well-rounded enough over the years. And then we've had some that have performed exceptionally well and been able to do everything. You just really never know until the contest gets going, and then being able to adapt quickly is how you stay relevant in those competitions.
All right. Now, real quick, when it comes to the game, because last year's game was a shooting game. I always kind of say, like, hey, it kind of looked like the robots were playing a wee bit of basketball, right? This one's definitely different. There's placing, then there's balancing, things of that. Any big challenge that you guys are kind of seeing this year with this game?
We've run into a couple of challenges, like fitting the arm mechanism on and just like getting that all figured out.
Now, the arm mechanism that you're talking about, that's because this year's game is you're picking up cones and you're picking up it's a cube, but it looks like it's like a beach ball, isn't it?
Yep, soft like that.
Have you guys popped one yet?
Yeah.
You guys have? Oh, okay, cool. So how easy are those things to pop? I've actually wondered that.
Very easy.
Yeah, it was easier than we thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I would say the biggest challenge for us this year is you're picking up two things that are not similar in shape. You have a road cone, which is a lot heavier and slicker than an inflatable cube. So you have to make a mechanism that's not going to destroy the cube, because they will ding you for that, but then also be able to pick up something that's slippery and skinnier. So that's been the hardest part, is designing that gripper part.
Okay, very cool. Candace, any big challenges that you're seeing this year with this game?
This game, I'm thinking that platform in the middle. I think with how heavy robots can be and how fast we want to go, I think it might be a little bit of a challenge to get it up there and to not go off the other side.
Okay. All right. And Spencer, any challenges?
Same kind of thing with cadence here. I think that platform's going to be kind of challenging because you could have teammates that are uncoordinated, and like you and one of your other teammates would be perfectly balanced, and the other teammate could just come over there and be a little unbalanced and ruin the whole thing, lose some points for you guys.
Right. Yeah. And again, that's another interesting thing. It's not just your team working on one robot. It's your team working on one robot working with another team that's working on another robot, which is it's such an interesting dynamic. It really, really is. Mike, same question. Any big challenges that you're seeing? I think you kind of already talked about the different games.
They hit the big ones there. The platform, being able to work on that. We have an autonomous period. The first 15 seconds of the match is autonomous, and it's, what do you want to do in that period? What do you want your robot to do? And can you do it reliably in that 15-second time frame before the drivers take over? That platform would be a big one if we can figure that out between now and March 2nd or 3rd. I don't think we'll have it ready for tomorrow, but we'll work on it over the next week or so, or 8 days. And then we'll, the other one is, like I said, picking up those different shaped objects reliably, without snow plowing everything into that end piece. So.
Right. Now, before I let you guys go, I always love ending with this question, and this can be kind of, if you want to do grand scope, if you have a personal goal, if you have a team goal, everything else. But throughout this year, at the end of the year, what is the goal that you are kind of aiming towards?
I think for me, it would just to not come in last place. I think anything above that, I think we did pretty good, personally for me. But that's just me.
Yeah, to do better than we did last year. Definitely, like last year was kind of like we all like took over, like it was like kind of us on our own for the first like time, and it was definitely last year was kind of like a practice year for us, like trying to figure out. So I think this year definitely gonna try to do better than we did last year.
Okay. Answer?
Well, at least my personal goal this year is to help a little more and try harder.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. It just seems a lot of let's just do better. That's a perfect goal. That's definitely reachable. Mike, same thing for you. What's the end?
Yeah, these guys, they did a pretty good job right there. I want them to keep getting better at robotics, getting better at the skills that they have. And I'd like to see us, get into that top 8, get picked and be able to participate in finals again. We did it we've done it a couple times over the years. And I'd like these guys to experience the excitement of that, being picked by another team or being able to pick a team and then go out there and, battle out in the regional finals for it. I think that would be a great experience for them.
That'd be awesome. Well, I'll be excited because I'm actually going to be there for week 0 tomorrow. So I'll have to catch up with you guys, see how you guys are doing, everything else. But seriously, thank you guys so much for joining. I love learning more. I love hearing everybody's stories and everything like that. And thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Ranger Robotics, 6132, and we'll be right back.
The PRB Boosters are happy to sponsor coverage of the Tigers. Like them on Facebook for events and fundraisers. The PRB Boosters could use your help. Be part of great events and fundraisers, all built to give back and present more opportunities for the students of Pine River Backus schools. For information or to get started, email prboosterclub1.com. Meetings are the first Monday of every month at 6 p.m. at the school. Good luck, Tigers, from the PRB Boosters. Restock on food, fuel, and baits at locally owned Station 371 on Highway 371 in Pine River. Station 371 has bait and tackle, quality Cenex gasoline, off-road diesel, and is the only stop with #1 diesel. Make sure to stop by to wash off the sand and salt with their indoor car wash, open when the temp is at least 26 degrees. They'll hook you up with your fishing and hunting licenses too. Station 371 on Highway 371 in Pine River. Thank you for supporting local business.
My name is Jared, born and raised in Minnesota, and I'm a project director at Enbridge. Enbridge is more than a pipeline company. It's a company participating in renewable energy projects in Minnesota and abroad, and I'm really proud to be working here.
We believe a cleaner energy future is achievable. For over 20 years, we've been early adopters of renewable energy, and we're proudly committed to net zero emissions by 2050. To hear more from Jared, visit enbridge.com/Jared. That's JERRID.
And welcome back into the YourLiveEvent.com Robotics Show. Joining me now, Jeremiah Miller, mentor for the ArrowBots team 8878, joining us this afternoon and or this morning, whenever you're viewing this at this point. But Jeremiah, thank you for joining me and appreciate the time. And for you as a mentor, now you're in year 2 with the ArrowBots now. How are things been coming along, and how has the process been for your team, and adapting to a game compared to last year, a stark difference between the two?
Well, I think nothing is really unique with us that no other small rural teams are not experiencing. Just being able to adapt to the different situations, like with our students being involved in multiple activities, and also being able to get them to all show up at the same time. So you get them when you get them, and you get them to work on whatever you got going on, and so just making sure that you have something for them to work on every time they show up. I think is key. Having that organization to say, hey, this is a goal and target for the day or for this week, and just whoever you can get going on something, because being that this is our second year being a rookie team still, the disadvantage is that we are starting something new in a place where they already have some established culture of sports, with the traditional ball sports. And so you have to combat against those, traditional norms, which was understood going into this. So that's kind of about the bulk of the challenges. But coming to the game and adapting to the new games for this season, I think the cone has been the biggest challenge to figure out how to obtain that, I don't know what to call it, but it's like that thing. If you master, I figure, well, I think if there's a team that master how to pick up that cone, regardless however orientation is in, and you can take that across to your community, that is a great asset to your alliance. And so that's something we've really been focused on, trying to prototype different things to see how we can, master a cone going down, like a sideway, picking up a sideway cone, and so forth like that. Yeah.
And then, when you guys did see the game and when it was officially announced, what was your initial reaction to it? And, what did you guys see in particular when it came to that? And, how did that kind of shape the strategy for you guys?
So as we were going through, watching the game being announced, it was one of those things where it was really exciting to know what was going on here. It was, I think, seeing all those different robots moving across and doing that thing, and, the accordions and all these different things, you have ideas popping in your head. And, I think sometimes that's exciting to get those initial ideas. And I think sometimes the hardest part is after the fact, when you start to iron through those ideas and see which ones are more kind of ideals versus realistic. And, it's like, for example, the girls have some fantastic, complicated ideas, but that's great because, you can better fine tune something than nothing at all. And, one of our best ideas from the boys were, using the claw machine. And it's like, no, there's a reason why that is used in vending machines, because they really don't work. So, but again, it's an idea. Having some ideas to go off of is way better. And having this, like, our super complicated, like 6 mechanism ideas that the girls came out initially, we can fine tune to say, hey, we're second year rookie team. We have a lot of limitations with supplies and materials and financial resources. And even then, just manpower resources too. So we can realistically dial some of those down to what can we really obtain in this season? What do we want to do? So our team goal is, last year we had this goal of build a robot, make it go 1 foot. And so that robot went more than 3 tournaments. And so that was incredible. So that was our first robot we ever built. So this season, it's like, okay, let's set up something more realistic than that too. And so it was like, well, we want to show up to competition with a functional robot that is not going to finish dead last. So I don't know, if we are somewhere the top, the last 5 teams, that's great, because then we've met that goal. And even just showing up to competition with a robot that is functional, that gives them a lot of time to use their practice schedule time to practice as much as possible, to during the practice day, the day before qualifying matches. So that's the goal. So if we stick to that and we achieve that, I think that would be huge for us.
And then, when it comes to, your team, you guys being very new as well, I'm somebody who, getting a chance to see you guys in action back in the fall, over in Alexandria, I was very impressed with you guys and what you guys were able to do there out there, especially. But not only that, but seeing the passion from those kids and being able to go out and do this. I wish that I had that growing up at this point. But, for you, what's it been like being around these kids, not only just, in the build process, but also having them in the pit and seeing that passion come out from these kids?
I think what I always say is that I can probably have those kids build a skyscraper at the events. You can have them build anything at that event, at those events, because at those events, I think they tune out all the other distractions that they go through on a day-to-day, in our day-to-day lives. And, it's just like, this is about robots. Their objective, their focus, their attention, everything is one thing and one thing in mind. And that really helps to see them just actively, like when we went to the Twin Cities for our very first match, our first competitions, I remember one of my fondest memory was that whole work day trying to get our robot to pass inspection. That was huge. That took pretty much a 12 hours work day. Those kids put in 12 hours work day. I mean, literally some people were feeling dehydrated. And I mean, there was no complaining. Everybody was just working hard and doing the best they can do. And it was one of those where it's like, when you know what you're doing something, why you're doing something, it doesn't matter what you have to do, you will do it. But if you don't understand the purpose behind you doing something, then you are more likely to be the one that your mentors will have to chase you down. So it's a message that I'm still, reinforcing to my team, like, find a niche, find something you want, to get out of this program. Because once you create that relationship, like, this is what I want, this is where I belong on the team, your passion will drive you the rest of the way for that, and then it's no longer a chore. It's where it's like, oh, I got to do this because, Mr. Miller wants me to do it, or I got to do this because, it's more like, this is something I have to do because I want to do it, because I got to do it because the team needs me to get this done. You become more of you think globally at the same time while you're also, thinking locally, because your global perspective affects your local mindset. Hang on a second, I get some people wandering in here.
No,
go ahead.
So, Jeremiah, the other aspect of this too is that, I always wanted to get into this as a kid, but also at the same time, I'm always interested how the mentors get into this and, how you got started with it. I know that you guys are a young team as well, just in your second year. So for you, how did you get involved in this and how did you hear about it?
Well, when I was in high school in Ithaca, New York, we had Code Red Robotics. That was our robotic team for my high school. I was not involved with it. I had just moved in the country. I didn't know much about the society, so I was still trying to navigate what it's like living in America and going and figuring out, fitting in with the school system and all that. And so I saw the passion. There's this one kid that I went to school with, his name Emilio Del Plato, and his passion for coding and just work. I mean, the kid was eating, thinking, breathing robotics. I mean, he was that kid where he carried his laptop with him everywhere he went. So, and then, when I became a teacher, I love teaching science, but science, with a purpose is passion science. And yes, sure, I have to teach a certain curriculum, but at the end of the day, there are certain things you don't have certain flexibility in teaching those things. And so having kids learn how to problem solve is an important, valuable tool that will be accessible in any occupation. It doesn't matter what you do. Even if you're a custodian versus a CEO, you need to learn how to problem solve. And so robot is just the tool that, when I came to Minnesota, I was teaching at a school in Mankato, and these kids just needed something to do that was constructive because their behaviors were just, they were just, some of them were just making poor choices because they didn't have any other options. So, then idea of robotics, just like maybe this is a tool that we can use to get some constructive, work, mindset going. So we started, and it was a strong battle to get them, going with that. But we were going fine, and then COVID happened, and the whole world went berserk. So, so when I left that school, I came up to Ashby, and during an interview, I asked the principal, I'm like, "Is that something that you'd be open up to letting me, kind of get back into that again?" And so kind of how we started last year, penniless, nothing, not a tool. Bringing my own personal tools from home, like some days you swipe your own debit card to to pay for things. But the community we live in has been and is a supportive community of the school, for the school, and it's that relationship where it's a mutual symbiotic relationship with this community, the school, where it's like anything this school puts out, this community stands behind, and so that really helped us last year to get up to a really good start, because we would have we would have um, we would have done we would have got, we would not have gotten as far as we did last year if we didn't have a strong community-based support to be able to get us through some of the the tough part about your first year into anything, and year two still standing behind us, and I'm confident that they will continue to stand behind us for as long as we remain a team, hopefully for a very long time.
Well, Jeremiah, you guys are off to a great start. Loved seeing what you guys were able to do in Alexandria, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are able to do this coming year. Looking forward to talking with you a ton soon, talking with some of your students. It's going to be fantastic. Jeremiah Miller, mentor for the ArrowBots 8878. Thank you so much for joining me this week.
Thank you.
This year, Schrupp Excavating is celebrating 40 years of digging it right. With this milestone year, Schrupp Excavating wants to thank all of their past, current, and future employees and customers. They appreciate all you've done to help Schrupp Excavating become one of the most trusted companies in the Lakes area. For any excavation project, Schrupp Excavating will have your project done right and on time, serving Pine River, Bacchus, Pequot Lakes, and all the surrounding communities. Schrupp Excavating LLC, online at schruppexcavating.com.
I'm dreaming of a world where thinkers and doers collide, where technology creates pathways for new opportunities and ideas. I want to ask questions and shape the answers that lead to real and meaningful advancements in this digital era. I'm going to innovate the world someday.
My name is Jared, born and raised in Minnesota, and I'm a project director at Enbridge. Enbridge is more than a pipeline company. It's a company participating in renewable energy projects in Minnesota and abroad, and I'm really proud to be working here.
We believe a cleaner energy future is achievable. For over 20 years, we've been early adopters of renewable energy, and we're proudly committed to net zero emissions by 2050. To hear more from Jared, visit enbridge.com/Jared. That's JERRID.
And welcome back to the Your Live Event Robotics Show. I'm Jack. I'm here with Team 4674, RoboJacks. I'm here with Kirk, Sophie, and Sam. First and foremost, how are you guys doing?
Quite good. I think we're doing pretty good.
Okay.
Doing well enough. It's build season. What can we say?
Yep.
We were actually talking a little bit beforehand, before we started recording, that it's definitely the crazy time of build season, huh?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, before we get into the nuts and bolts of everything, I always love asking, so what got everybody into robotics? What called you to it? And honestly, if anybody wants to answer first, that's completely fine.
Well, I first got into robotics in middle school. I joined from Vex and continued on through first, and then just never left.
Okay.
Me, I had robotics in my 8th grade year at a private school. Then when I moved to the high school, I wanted to join the robotics team here because I was interested in it, and I'm here again for my 2nd year.
No, okay, perfect. Now, Sophie, what if you don't mind, what year are you? Are you
I'm a
sophomore?
senior.
You're a senior. Okay, all right. So you've been just chugging along with it for like a while now.
Yeah, almost 7 years. Well, if you include VEX, 'cause I did VEX for 3 years, and then this will be my 4th year of first.
So what is VEX?
So VEX is just like a smaller robot. Like they have similar like challenges towards first. But a lot of the parts are like pre-made, but you can use like certain like printed and 3D printed stuff.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And of course, it's always fun to ask. And what do you prefer? Do you prefer coach or mentor?
Me, I kind of done both. I guess the school would consider me a coach. I consider myself a mentor.
Okay, well then, I always love asking the mentors the same questions. How did you start into the robotics?
My son was a freshman on the first robotics team in Bemidji. And for the first couple of years, I was like, this is something he enjoys, but I didn't understand it until I went to one of the competitions and I went, this is something else. Most people, that's kind of their story, is they go to a competition and go, whoa, this is not what I expected. And after he graduated, I just kind of felt I owed it to the program to provide the opportunity for the kids to come after him.
Perfect. And honestly, like you said, like that is such a normal like phase of events that like kind of leads you to it. I've heard a lot of people saying like, hey, once you drink the Kool-Aid, it's really hard to kind of kick it. Very similar, actually. My last year was my first time actually knowing about any of this with the competition in Alexandria, and oh man, that was like so cool to go see. And like it really was like an old school like WWE, WWF wrestling event. So cool. I mean, you guys have way too much fun. I constantly say like, oh, where was this when I was a kid?
Oh, exactly.
But with it being build season and everything else, how is the build going? We are coming up to week 0, which I'll ask a few questions about that here in a while, but how is the build going as of right now?
It's actually going pretty good. We didn't get off to a really fast start in January, but we've got all of our pieces milled out and we're just finishing up assembling and wiring, and then hopefully by the end of tomorrow we'll have a functional robot.
Okay, all right. Now, so you said you don't think you got off to a fast start. Like, what would have been a fast start? Like everything's done by now? Because again, it's amazing that you're like, oh yeah, just one more day and we have a functioning robot. Like that's such an interesting thing to say.
Well, last year I remember we had a design and we were prototyping by like the 5th day, but then this year we didn't start like building and prototyping until after 2 weeks because had a long designing process because the game always changes every year, so we had a difficult game, so we're just trying to design it thoroughly.
Okay, all righty. Now, Kirk, how are they doing with the build thus far?
I think they're doing just fine. We don't have a functioning robot, and I've been monitoring an email thread of the teams coming up to week 0, and the most common discussion point is we're showing up with a pile of metal. We don't have a finished robot. Is that okay? Yeah, that's that. Typically at these events, you might have 1 or 2 teams that show up with a fully functional, finished, maybe not polished, but finished robot. The rest of us, this might be the first time we're trying to get all of the mechanisms working. We've had our robot chassis driving, but the superstructure, we're still trying to get that wired and completed. But so are a number of other teams. And to me, that's what's cool about this event is that we'll show up And it's kind of reassuring to the students, and I think the mentors too, that we're all in the same boat. We're not behind. We're all in this together. And the cool thing too is that we'll help each other out. As we figure things out at tomorrow's event, you'll see teams that are lending parts and lending expertise. And we've got students who, because we use a chain for our drivetrain, they might be setting up chain links for another team for either their drivetrain or another mechanism of sorts, taking what we've learned and helping another team with it, and other teams reciprocating as well.
Okay. Yeah. No. And again, like hearing that, like how much other teams are just willing to help out and like kind of drop whatever they're doing and help out each other. Like, that's such a cool thing. Again, I'm gonna butcher this word, but the cooperation is such a cool statement.
You nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, yes. All right. Perfect. Now, we were talking, kind of got a little bit into it there. So if you don't mind, could you get into a little bit more of what week 0 is and what is week 0?
Sure. Week 0 is a opportunity for a variety of teams to come together and to actually test the robot on a real playing field, on a full-size playing field. Quite often with an FMS, we attempt to have that. I don't know if we'll have it this year. And try to drive the robots under game conditions. Quite often, it's the first time that many of these teams, as alluded to with the number coming with unfinished robots, that they'll be on the field playing the game. And so kind of see how your robot performs with the game pieces, with the field elements, and see how it performs on the field with other robots. You might have a full field in your shop, but if you don't have another 5 robots on there, you really don't know how it's going to act. Are you taking too much space? Do you have too much space to turn around? What happens if another robot is blocking an area you need access to? That sort of stuff gets answered.
So it almost kind of sounds like week 0 for the layman is kind of like a preseason.
That's exactly that's what it is.
Okay, perfect. Now, Sam, seeing that you're a senior and you've been doing this for, you've been doing robotics for like 7 years. How important is week 0?
That wasn't me. That was Sophie.
Sophie, I am so sorry. I looked directly at Sophie too. My goodness, I'm so sorry, Sophie. Yeah, how important is week 0?
Well, week 0 has been very integral to like the development of our robot and like finding out what problems we have. Like last year, we found out that the chain inside, we had like a chain inside our tube, our like metal frame to run our wheels, and that snapped during week 0, and we had to take apart our robot completely to fix it. And so we were working around that problem, and we got the robot back into working condition for our regional the week after.
That's great. So when something like that happens, where a piece completely breaks, I mean, is it all hands on deck, or is it pretty calm of like, oh, okay, yeah, something was going to happen?
It's pretty all hands on deck when situations like that happen. And everyone tries their best to keep calm and just make sure everything moves without the panic taking over.
Now with the game, what do you guys think about the game this year? Last year's game was, I always kind of equate it to, it looked like the robots were playing basketball. This one very different. What do you think of this year's game?
I think it's gonna be a cool game because like you gotta have a strategy because most of your game pieces are gonna be on the opposite end of the field. So you want to have that plan in your mind that you're gonna have to drive all the way to the other side of the field and then pick it up and then drive all the way back. So that's gonna like kind of strategize where you want to go and plan the game. And then I think that's pretty cool and stuff. And then at the end, you have to like balance your robot, and I like that, like balance and like making sure like you have a good a lower center of gravity, so that it's easier to balance. So then, and that's one of the reasons why we were focusing on designing a robot good, because we needed to have a robot that would balance, because that was one of our tests that had like one of the biggest point totals. So we wanted to try to have that.
Okay, all right. Sophie, any thoughts on this year's game?
Well, this year we were quite excited to work with the cones and the cubes, because most of our team has only worked with shooters. So it was a new challenge that we were gonna have to design our.
All right. Now, Sophie, what do you do for the team? Or are you a little bit of like, hey, I'm just going to do whatever needs to be done, or do you have a specific job?
I'm on the business media marketing team.
Oh, okay, cool. Very cool. Now with the business media marketing team, like, what is that? What do you do?
So we're in charge of sending out letters to businesses and uploading on our social medias and platforms, like about events we're going to, like how we're doing in competitions. And we also make like YouTube videos and about what our team has done like during the week. And we usually do like weekly recaps for that. We also organize like the fundraisers or outreach events we do, such as presentations to like our middle schools and elementary schools about robotics and like team building.
1 second, sorry. Part one. Okay. Give me 1 second. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second here.
That's okay.
Hey, Sean, I'm actually in the middle of an interview right now. What's going on?
It's doing good.
So honestly, I do. Not that I saw this morning, but honestly, I'm just going to go in and make it. There's only like 12 things, so I'm not going to lie. I have the list. I have all the stuff. I just haven't physically put it where it needs to go yet. No. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, no problem. Bye. Again, I am so sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine.
We're in the middle of playoffs and everything else, so everything's super hectic.
There's a lot going on with you guys right now.
Right. Now, Sophie, with the YouTube, the weekly updates, everything else, like everything like that, like, are you getting to the point where you're like, oh yeah, no, we completely did this week, and like here's our new drivetrain, and here's all that, or is there like certain things that you're trying to kind of keep closer to the vest, or is it all everything's open?
It's pretty open on what we post. Some days, some videos might not have a lot of like difference from the last video, depending on how much had been done or video recorded that week. But they're pretty true to what we do. They are true to what we do in the shop and in our programming or like business area.
Yeah, perfect. Sam, what do you do?
I'm a sophomore on the build team, and I also went on the drive team. So what I've been doing lately is I've been cutting out all the pieces of aluminum that are in the structure or superstructure and the drivetrain of our robot, and I've been cutting them out and then milling them with a manual mill, drilling holes and just stuff like that. And I was drilling holes for some the axles that go through the tube for the wheels, and just making sure gotta make sure everything's precise because we want it to work. And then after that, me and another member, we were assembling the robot the past few weeks, And then, so we've got the superstructure now mounted to the drivetrain.
That is awesome, and I'm not gonna lie. The entire time you were saying this, and honestly, yeah, like Kirk, is that just like a normal like everything he just said? That's just that's just today. That's just normal stuff because you're talking like I'm a guy who can hardly make a grilled cheese sandwich. So being like, hey, yeah, I'm a sophomore and I did this with an axle, and I'm like, I don't know what he's saying, man, but this sounds so awesome.
Yeah, that is what we strive for, is to take we're fortunate at Bemidji High School to have a machine shop that has lathes and mills, and actually a CNC mill as well that we utilize. Welding shop right next to our robotics shop. We have wood shops, construction trade shops that the students take classes in. And what robotics does is gives them a chance to actually take what they've learned in classroom and do something with it. Not just a project, not just a piece of metal that you put the hole in the right place in this metal. Yep, good, we'll grade it and move on. But okay, now this has to function. And so, and we're fortunate to have some mentors who have gone through the robotics program, have gone through and now have careers in manufacturing and design. We have mentors from Bemidji Steel, mentor from Wells Technology here in town that didn't work alongside the kids, the students, and show them this is how you use this piece of equipment, maybe at a level that the teachers maybe didn't teach. But then to actually use this and go, this is what I do at my job. And so, so yeah, it becomes kind of matter of fact like that. And, you know, realistically with the potential these students have, you know, I think Olaf said it best. The only thing holding them back is not having smarter mentors.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Olaf's a character.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Great guy. But yeah, no, it really is. I mean, it is really cool to go, and I promise you, like, go check out one of these events. It is so cool to see the robots do their stuff, but like you're only seeing such a fraction of it. And my biggest thing was just like, man, these students are going to be like, they're building the future, and it's like so cool to really see. And it already sounds like, I mean, you're really kind of hammering that home with like, hey, yeah, no, this is what it's going to be like in the real world. Like I do this for my job and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. That's awesome. But last question, I always like asking this one at the end. What is, and not just for week 0, overall season goal? It could be either a personal goal, a team goal, really anything. If you know, do you guys have a goal?
So our team goal, our team goal is to become an alliance captain, and another one of our goals is to to have greater impact on our community through our outreach. And for like a personal goal for myself, since I'm a senior, I'd like to be able to pass on what I have learned to the other members of business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Sam?
Yeah, just one of my personal goals is just trying to be as best as I can be, and kind of like what our mentor here, he has a quote he found that's like, it's do or be the best that you, what is it, something like that.
Do your best to become the
best that you can be.
I like
that. I impress on them. The John Wooden is, I appreciate what he said about success, which success is doing your best to become the best that you're capable of becoming. And that's what I try to instill in the kids. It's not about whether we win or lose. And sometimes it's not even about whether we accomplish our goals or not, because you can be successful without accomplishing goals, and you can accomplish your goals and not be successful if you haven't done your best to be at your top level. And my goal is just to try to create an environment where they can develop those characteristics that are needed to be successful.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Like the only thing I could even suggest about like what to do with a robot would be like, hey, maybe we should put that on the side somewhere, you know. Paint that on the side. That'd be kind of cool. But now, Kirk, same question to you. What you have a team goal? Do you have a personal goal?
Yeah, basically what they said.
Oh.
As far as the team goals, I would love for the something you can measure. Did we become an alliance captain or not? You know, that as far as a performance goal, that's one that's easy to measure, but realistically it is, are they developing the traits to be successful? And am I doing my job to allow them to do that? And I've got a ways to go. I'll admit I'm a third-year coach, so I'm taking my licks and learning a lot along the way. But that's my goal, is that when they join robotics, they are in an environment where they can find their skills and they can find their level of success within those skills.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Seriously, this was so awesome. Again, this was RoboJacks, team 4674. Keep on watching. We got more coming up.
Thank you for taking the time and watching the Your Live Event robotics show powered by Enbridge. Next week, we got a little bit of a special one for you. We're actually going to bring you the footage that we were able to capture during week 0. See you then.